When I was much younger, at the end of my elementary school years, I transferred over from my Cub Scout troop to my Boy Scout troop. I can't say Boy Scouts was ever my favorite activity to participate in, especially because I left my troop by my freshman year. However, one of my greatest takeaways from my troop is the games we used to play after a long day of roughing it out in the woods. One of my favorite games was a game called Mafia, in which we were assigned roles that performed certain actions based on which playing cards we were given. Kings represented sheriffs, which revealed the role of another player each round. Aces represented the mafia members who killed a player each round. Other cards represented specialized roles, like doctors that could save one player from being killed by a mafia member. Years later, Mafia has become the building block for a growingly popular genre of video games, the social deduction genre. The basis of social deduction games is that a group of players are designated as innocent or good, with a few of the players instead being assigned as traitors or bad. The goal of each round for every innocent player is to survive and complete a certain amount of tasks, whereas the traitorous players attempt to counteract these tasks and sabotage or even kill the innocent players. In the gaming industry today, one of the most popular games in the world is a social deduction game titled Among Us, with a concept based off of the one described above. However, the popularity of Among Us has cast a shadow over other social deduction games that I feel deserve the same, if not more, recognition. In today's video, I'm going to compare 3 of my favorite social deduction games, Among Us, Project Winter, and Town of Salem, to see how they stand up against each other and determine which of these 3 games really deserves the notoriety that Among Us has gained recently. To me, Among Us is the perfect introduction to the social deduction genre. It's probably the most simple social deduction game I've invested my time into that still retains high quality gameplay. Among Us gained an immense amount of traction in the social deduction genre over quarantine, reaching 100 million game downloads in September. This newfound popularity was a result of 2 major reasons. The game is very cheap, clocking in at only $5 for the most expensive version of the game, which is available on Steam, and $0 for the least expensive version, which is available on app stores like Google Play and the Apple App Store. Plus, the game is available on 2 of the most widely used platforms, mobile and PC, making it extremely accessible to a wide range of audiences. For a lot of people, Among Us was their first step into the social deduction genre, and it cast a glowing first impression on many people because the game is so easy to follow and yet so addicting in its playstyle. Among Us is set in space, where each player makes up a 10-person crew of astronauts working together on a spaceship. A portion of these players are assigned the role of crewmate, meaning that they walk around the spaceship attempting to perform certain tasks that fill up a taskbar in the top of the screen. Each task is extremely simple, ranging from clicking numbers in the correct order to holding a button on the screen to fill up a gas can, or to flipping a switch downwards to release trash from the spaceship. I think this is part of the allure that Among Us has over other social deduction games like Project Winter or Town of Salem, as these other titles have more challenging objectives that require a lot more effort that can turn off a lot of new players. Among Us keeps things extremely simple, which helps attract new players of all ages, because even younger children can understand how to complete tasks where they only have to pull down a lever or flip a few switches. As development of Among Us continues, more aspects are being added to the game to be more inclusive to other groups. Recently, Among Us changed several of the color-based tasks to include shapes, so that colorblind players were able to actually finish them. On top of that, Among Us is available on more than a few platforms, including PC and mobile as mentioned earlier, but Nintendo Switch and other consoles as well. Among Us being available on mobile is probably the biggest reason the game has gained so much popularity with a wide variety of audiences, as a majority of people have access to a mobile device that allows them to download and play Among Us. This is one of the clearest benefits Among Us has over Project Winter. Among Us can be played on almost any platform, whereas Project Winter is available solely on PC, which many people can't afford or don't have access to. Although Among Us has taken many strides in accessibility that other social deduction titles haven't, games like Project Winter have severe advantages in their gameplay that Among Us lacks. The most damning, to me at least, is the severe lack of tools for imposters to use to win the game. In Among Us, all imposters can do to lure away and kill the crewmates is sabotage certain objectives, which the crewmates need to fix, or else their ability to complete tasks may be hindered or they may lose the game altogether. Although these sabotages can end a game quickly if the innocent players are unable to reach them in time, these are basically the only tool that imposters can use to turn the tides of each game. In a game like Project Winter, traitors have access to sabotages and traps and weapons and more. A traitor can take many different paths to turn a game in their favor, which enables them to kill innocent players more quickly and avoid being caught more easily. I think this is another problem I have with Among Us. Without the use of a health system or the use of tasks that can harm innocent players, imposters can only rely on each other to kill the crewmates or else nothing will get done. In games like Winter, innocent players can die to the cold, they can die to wild animals around the map, they can die to traps, etc. Traders in Project Winter are allowed to make mistakes because the environment around them can help make up for them. In Among Us, if an imposter makes a mistake, they're basically out of the game. Cooldowns make this especially true, as an imposter can only kill an innocent player every 30 seconds or so. This makes it so that if an innocent player witnesses an imposter killing another innocent player, the imposter can't just kill them to prevent the player from snitching. Even though a majority of Among Us's problems come with the imposter system, I do have my own issues with the task system. Many of the tasks are so simple that the game is just boring to play as a crewmate. Some tasks are just matching color to color, some are just counting numbers in the correct order, and some are simply switching a lever. I know they're meant to serve as kind of filler for the real game that occurs when imposters start killing, but I just don't have fun playing Among Us like I do playing Project Winter. I don't think Among Us is a bad game, it just doesn't do enough for me. Its simplicity surely appeals to a wide range of audiences, especially kids, like I mentioned before, but I wouldn't include myself in those that see the appeal.
Winter here already, but somehow I'm heating up. Been observing the game and feel like I've seen enough.
Although Project Winter is probably the most difficult social deduction game mentioned in this video, it's easily my favorite, and I find myself coming back to this game far more often than Among Us or Town of Salem. Project Winter never gained the same amounts of popularity that Among Us and Town of Salem did, but I think that this game is consistently better than both of those options for someone who is more active in the social deduction genre. Winter is much less simple than Among Us, but that's part of the reason it feels so much more satisfying than a game of Among Us. To start off, Project Winter holds a maximum of 8 players per game. Usually, this means that 6 players are innocent and 2 players are traitors. I say usually because the setup can be changed in a custom configuration. In a game of Winter, the players are stranded on a snow-covered island with certain objectives stationed around the island. These objectives involve finding parts scattered around the island and placing them in a collection area within the objective, whether these parts be gears, motherboards, fuel, batteries, etc. Most of the time, parts are found in bunkers that require multiple players to work together to open them. This displays a common theme in Project Winter that isn't as present in games like Among Us or Town of Salem. Teamwork is extremely important, and being a lone wolf is more detrimental than beneficial. In Among Us, staying by other players is used entirely as a means of survival, as one needs an alibi for where they've been the whole round when a body is reported. In Project Winter, it is almost impossible to win a game while playing as an innocent without assistance from the other players in the game. Opening bunkers by yourself is impossible without a helping hand from another integral part of Winter, the role system. Roles are assigned to each player at the start of the game, and they give the player special abilities to help them complete their task, escaping the island as an innocent or preventing the innocents from escaping as a traitor. Prominent roles for innocents include the hacker and the defector. Hackers are able to open bunkers by themselves using some of the parts found around the map, whereas defectors can open special traitor crates sprinkled around the island that provide deadly items and weapons. Not only do innocents receive roles, however, traitors receive the same roles, which allow traitors to disguise themselves as innocents without being caught as easily. For example, one innocent and one traitor could both be medics, which allows them to heal all players within a certain radius. If both players claim to be the innocent medic, they have to prove their innocence, which creates a sort of competition between the two that makes all of the players in the game begin to mistrust them. These situations create scenarios in which the traitors can cast doubt on that innocent player by using their traitor role. This is one of the biggest benefits that Project Winter has over a game like Among Us, because being the imposter in Among Us can be so damn hard. The tasks in Among Us are so simple that crewmates can actually finish their tasks before the game is over and just walk around the map, fixating on who could be the imposter and following them around so they can't perform their imposter role. This issue rarely occurs in Winter because the actions traitors can perform when assigned their roles allows them to deflect accusations of traitorship onto other players. When accused of being a traitor, the traitor medic can heal innocent players to convince them that they're actually an innocent themselves. In Among Us, there isn't much an imposter can do to cast doubt on them being an imposter. They can use their sabotage ability to stop players from reporting them using an emergency meeting, or to set up a kill on an innocent player. But in terms of looking like an innocent, imposters in Among Us can only really stand at tasks, hoping that people won't notice that the taskbar doesn't increase when they walk away. Winter's biggest leg up on Among Us is the traitor system in general, to be honest. As mentioned in the Among Us section earlier in the video, being an imposter in Among Us is pretty damn difficult. You don't really have tools to assist yourself in killing innocent players like you do in Project Winter. I mentioned briefly in the Among Us section of this video that traitors have access to a wide range of tools in Project Winter, including sabotages like imposters in Among Us have, plus traps and weapons. On top of that, traitors in Winter are actually able to communicate with each other, unlike imposters in Among Us. Honestly, this is one of my favorite additions to Project Winter, as traders can actually strategize with each other and plan out how they're going to kill innocents. Unlike in Among Us, how imposters have to fend for themselves without any communication and hope their teammate follows up on whatever they attempt to do. All in all, Project has a lot of pros over cons, especially the inclusion of a communication system, both proximity chat for everyone and trader radios for traders, and the environmental survival aspect, the cold, resources allocation, wild animals, etc. Personally, I think Project Winter is much, much better than Among Us, and much, much, much better than Town of Salem, and provides lots more content. But I can also stand that Winter is not nearly as accessible, nor as easy to play as Among Us or Town of Salem. I would easily recommend Project Winter over Among Us any day of the week, but I understand a lot of people's gravitation towards a simpler title like Among Us.
This is a certified hood classic.
As much as I used to play Town of Salem when I was younger, I really do not have much good to say about the game. When it first started out, Town of Salem was a charming flash game themed around the Salem witch trials, where each player is given a role at the beginning of the game corresponding to the traditional innocents and traders of social deduction games. In Town of Salem, innocents are designated as townspeople, whereas traders are designated as mafia. Townspeople win by surviving long enough in the game to deduce who the members of the mafia are and voting them out of the game, whereas the mafia wins by killing all of the townspeople before all of the mafia members are voted out. Certain players can be given neutral roles, which have special abilities and serve no alliance to the townspeople or the mafia. These roles, like the serial killer, win by being the only player to survive. Like the mafia, serial killers are able to kill one player each night. Otherwise, the townspeople and mafia boast a myriad of roles, including doctors that prevent killings, investigators that can reveal the roles of players, framers that can frame another player for the mafia's killings, and more. These roles are imperative to figuring out who is a townsperson and who is a member of the mafia. Oftentimes, players reveal their roles throughout the game to prove their innocence or cast doubt on another player. As a baseline concept, Town of Salem is a good social deduction game. However, the community revolving around Town of Salem is where problems begin to crop up. For a long time, Town of Salem boasted a dedicated fanbase that played the game seriously, making every game relatively enjoyable. Unfortunately, over time, Town of Salem has degraded in quality immensely, as the dedicated players have moved on to better, more popular social deduction games, while the trolls and game throwers stuck around. Nowadays, Town of Salem is a cesspool of hate speech, trolls, and people that aren't dedicated to playing the game correctly. I sat down to record a Town of Salem game for this video, and in the only game I recorded, the jailer, a townsperson role, worked together with the serial killer to win the game for the serial killer, and when the rest of the lobby was rightfully upset, he resorted to being hateful towards minority groups.
Yo, this is crazy. My footage is gonna be it's gonna have me reporting somebody for hate speech in it. That's crazy.
I used to have a lot of respect for this game, but now that its community has completely devolved, I genuinely could not recommend this game any less. Town of Salem was my first social deduction game, but unfortunately its community is so awful now that I would never revisit it after the creation of this video. I had almost no fun playing the game for the one game that I played recording this video, and I can't say that I think I would have fun playing it any other time. Although it's painfully obvious that Town of Salem is no longer a social deduction game I could recommend in good faith, I still think Project Winter and Among Us are good games that deserve a try from everybody that can play them. I personally prefer Project Winter over Among Us, but its complicated playstyle and longer, more strategy-based rounds could turn off a lot of audiences, especially younger children. If you're just starting out in the social deduction genre, I strongly recommend Among Us. However, to those that have poured hours into games like Among Us and Town of Salem, Project Winter is a perfect step up. Hopefully, as Among Us continues to gain notoriety, more titles start to crop up in the social deduction genre, giving people like myself more options to explore and perfect. Thank you for watching.